All right, we are back. Friends, it's round number 5 here of 7. Wrong, it's round number 5. It is 5. It's 5.
It is 5, and it's also a Borvo, stopper of show, as you can see. Yes, chat, that is indeed Starvo, but oftentimes we just try to avoid talking about him simply because no one really wants to.
You are incorrect. You're so incorrect.
It was the setup, my friend. See, you have to know to set the man up. You got to set him up, okay? Look, we're using all the tools at our disposal. We got the soundboard, we got the teleprompter, and indeed, Borvo, stopper of show. Look, for all the people that are upset about this right here being the animation, just understand that there is not a Bravo Showstopper adult animation. There's just not. It does not exist. And so Ethan has asked me on multiple occasions if I have time to animate Bravo, and I haven't had time yet. Okay, look, so here's the thing. If you want a non-Starvo animation, then we can all write paper letters to LSS, send them letters and ask for an animation of the original Bravo, stopper of the show.
Or you can use that time to do anything else.
Yes, that's the other thing.
That's also definitely, you can worry about other more important things. But this is definitely a matchup that is hotly debated. I think that this is a particular matchup where if you are just the superior Dromai player, then this is probably this is the skill match for sure. It's whichever player I think is better prepared, that is the better player in this particular matchup. I would say it's a 50-50. People will argue up and down about who's favored in this, like a plethora of poppers and ways to kill dragons versus just the permanency of the dragons on the board and the constant threat in that regard.
I love the players like joshing back and forth with each other. Ryan Rich over here at 4-0. On Dromai, and we'll see if he has the fatigue package in the list still. This is something that I was curious about in going into this new meta. Are we going to see the Dromai players just go full bore with aggro and side out some fatigue options? Are we going to see them bring in 1, maybe 2 remembrances? Are they going to include ways of just circumventing and combating the fatigue plan that Bravo naturally provides? That's the question. And yeah, pulling up Dust from the Chrome Caverns is a really great new card that they also have access to that can really make things awkward and require you to send the hammer to Chromai on your turn because it's not poppable.
Playtime, TCG making the very astute observation that if we will have Borvo, we have to have Borvo 2 red disc.
Yes.
1 red disc, not enough. 3, too much. Too much.
Too much.
Just 2. That's all you need. Also, Mara Faris say, why not? Time to see some Dromai crust.
That is
No?
Dromai crust?
Sorry, that's how Borvo read. Borvo
yeah.
see what Borvo want to see. All right, so we're going to roll to see who goes first over here. Again, definitely a skill matchup between these two over here, highly debated. I have a ongoing bet in this particular matchup. It's me and Mara Faris. Loser buys lunch.
Oh, that's a pretty good deal.
And considering she calls me a loser very often, I am definitely in the deficit factor of lunch giving, but ultimately.
Oh, look what we get to have now.
What?
We get Guardian boots.
Yes, we do,
That
friends.
exists. Can you believe it? Forget this Chromite dust. Get that off the screen. We got to put up the new Guardian boots. Every Guardian player's dream.
They are not loaded.
We are not going to put up the Guardian boots.
So here's why round table, everybody, all the Guardian players were super on board with the round table because the new boots here are a 2-block temper, which is just basically a superior boot. Now, when you block, it gives your opponent a quicken token, but I don't really think that Bravo cares too much. We're going to open here with an opposing visage, which is one of the better turn 0 plays, which is going to go ahead and get a pulverize. We are not messing about over here. Now, when I play Borvo and I open with the imposing visage to go fetch a pulverize, you know what happens? 4 red cards. That's the drop every single time, even with the showtime. Now the question is was that heaved? Oh yes, it was.
Oh, 100%. That's
yes,
exactly why you make this play. This is one of those like percentage plays that you actually calculate when you're building your deck, when you're putting together your 60 or your 62, however many you want to run in the matchup. You calculate how often you can make exactly this play so that you can get a pulverized into the arsenal with heave. and set up like a really big drop play. But he finds it on turn number 0. And looking over here, this is going to be a key point in the matchup. You're on Flake.
I am on Flake. That is
You're
like
on
saying,
Flake.
You know how kids say you're on Fleek? This is next level. You're
Nobody
on Flake.
says that anymore, my
Well,
friend.
no, because they all say you're on Flake.
Oh, okay.
Borvo know
Okay.
how hip
Thank
kids
you,
are
thank
today.
You. Yeah, thank you.
Continue, please.
Okay, yeah, we're going to continue. All right, so over on to the side of Ryan Rich, he's got his 2 floating and drawn into a 3-card hand. Did he play a tome off? No, he popped the gold token. And this is something that I was curious about to see as well. The gold token is generated off of Crown of Dominion, and the question is, does anyone plan to use that for more than just the ancillary benefit of creating ash? And it is very good at creating ash. It definitely is that, but this is a great turn 1 play. When not given the opportunity to mulligan, having Passing Mirage and a Kyloria on the board, that is kind of a big, good deal. And accidentally flipping over as he was drawing up. I think the knowledge is now gained by both players. I don't know what sort of judge penalty there will be. And as you can see, the judge there just saying, yep, just now everybody knows. So draw your cards and let's continue on.
So this is a very good opener as well for Ryan here, presenting a very threatening dragon as well as a way to essentially protect it. It's an on-hit, but again, look at all the equipment that can potentially block this, and there's no attack reactions that are really going to benefit these dragons. So the timing here is right for both players. The problem here is if Jeremy wants to block this out, he's going to be using that equipment because you do have to be able to pay for exactly that, the pulverize. So all the boots, all the equipment here is blocking for 2. So you can just toss, let's say you can toss a tech plate and the crater fist in front of it, or we can just go ahead and dominate a crippler. Why not?
Dominated Crippling Crush is the alternative play to the pulverize. You have the capability for both, I think? Let's see. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. So wait, is pulverize a 9 cost?
No, what happened here is precisely what I said might happen, which is that you're going to get gooned by drawing all red cards. I cursed this and I feel responsible. The problem now is that this card in your arsenal is going to be a huge liability.
No, we're just going to crown it away over the next turn or 2.
Put that down.
No, I can't help it. It's just so good. You have given us just the most wonderful tool over here, Ethan Van Sant. So thank you so much for allowing us to draw on the board. Now, I think this is a really interesting opening because we have a massive turn 0 play that has led to a really scary, persistent threat in Passing Mirage and a good dragon that you would think you'd want to immediately just answer with Anothos, right, to take out the Passing Mirage. But we're instead going to just dominate a Crippling Crush and try to push damage over the top. And instead, we have a 5 plus the 4 sand cover for the 9 cover. Look, 9 cover.
I am going to remove your duodenum. I swear. But yeah, again, this is, call it cursed or whatever it is, but when you play the old, when you play that card, the Imposing Visage, in order to draw up, he found 4 red cards and a blue. Like, that's legitimately, now there was the option, again, that Pulverize was costing 7. You could have actually pitched it all and played the Pulverize. That was definitely an option there. But now what he's opting to do here is let's just throw the Crippling Crush at a relative discount here and see what happens. And this is not bad over here. And again, the fact that the Bravo player is going to have a lot of block options with the equipment, cards like Kyloria are not terribly scary, even though they're being protected by a Passing Mirage. But the problem here is now Ryan's going to have opportunity to continue to develop the board. There's a difficult decision that you have to make very early on. What kind of player are you in this matchup? Are you hyper aggressive or are you playing the defensive build? Because if you kind of give and take on that strategy and you give up too much life points to trade damage with the Dromai player, then you're going to want that life pack in the late game where you're saying, I shouldn't have taken that 4, I shouldn't have taken that 6 to send 8 or 9 that they just covered up anyways. It's not really worth it. You have to commit to a strategy. The problem here is that this was just possibly too good to be true to find that dominated Crippling Crush that you could still send on a relatively difficult hand to navigate, which was four reds and a blue.
Mm-hmm. Now, he has the capability, of course, of always pivot. And this is the beauty of Borvo, I think, having the capability of pivoting into a more defensive strategy, just taking your moments, like right now, to throw Crippling Crush, to deal damage, and then you can fall back on controlling the board, removing like Passing Mirage with your hammer, stuff to that effect is definitely a way that Bravo can play. And so I'm not too terribly worried about the way that this sort of opened up over the past 2 turns for the Bravo side of things, because yeah, he he can take some damage here and there, but he can also pivot so well. That's like one of the hallmarks of the hero.
So again, a great way to go ahead and just sort of navigate through a dominating Crippling Crush. It seems as more and more of this game develops, more cards come out, more sets are published, it's harder and harder to actually convert on a dominating Crippling Crush early. There's so much equipment, so many ways around it. Even in this early game where your opponent, they found sand covers or still equipment to block and such, those Crippling Crushes are typically a lot more devastating and menacing in the late game.
Now, as we wait through the judge call, they're trying to figure out how the gold resolved and the hand was played out. Now the players are just having a good time. Keep in mind that this is the first event that these players are likely playing with these new cards and in this new quote-unquote new meta. And so players, from everyone that I've talked to, are having a great time out there. And this Battle Hardened is just really fun. It's enjoyable. These players are having a great time with each other. You could tell as Ryan and Jeremy here just chuckle about the fact that if this were Starvo, that would be +2, dominate, go again, and it would also say mean things to you as it stared across the table at you.
Oh, no, definitely. And it would probably dip into your 401k as well. Like, there's all kinds of nasty things. But that's now only in Living Legend. That's legal only in Living Legend.
Which is coming soon to a tournament near you in the Battle Hardened at Worlds.
No, not near you if you're in Spain.
Exactly. That's exactly what I said. Didn't you hear me say that?
No, you're right.
Really quietly.
I definitely did. But beyond that, even between the rounds, they're doing raffles. They're giving away like playmats, cards, boxes, things like that. They're giving away music lessons with DM Armada, which is really cool.
I can offer those. I have given music lessons before. I usually get paid, but then again, here I am, just a filthy degenerate asking for money for service. Like, I'll teach you what I know, but you have to actually pay money for that. Can you believe that people have to require that? I thought you just worked for exposure.
That is usually, that's what my landlord takes.
Hey, oh, really? Is that how that works?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's way different than it is here in the U.S.
I offered her my Amex, and she's like, "What is that? American Exposure?" I said, "Yes."
Oh, there you go. See, that's great.
And they accepted that. But yeah,
if you're just catching up, we're waiting through the judge call that is happening at the table right now on the feature match. They're just trying to resolve how everything was secured and how everything was played through on the previous turn to this, where Ryan did pop a gold token, paying 2 resources and 2 reds from hand, creating some ash, and then continuing on the turn as such. And I guess perhaps there's a question about usage, maybe of Flamescale Furnace, or about how many ash are in play. But we will, of course, wait for the judge to make the call on that, and we will see how this will resolve and, what will happen on the back end of this dominated Crippling Crush.
This is also worth noting here in terms of this particular matchup, which is, again, a hotly contested one. But with the inclusion of these new boots, you have better options to sort of cover up some of the more menacing dragons while you're killing things like Passing Barrage. But at the same time, there's no Null Rune in here. So you might be open to Burn Them Alls and Asvalize and those kinds of naughty, unblockable damage as it would be in this particular case. So that kind of alludes a little bit to the strategy that maybe Jeremy wants to trade damage in this case. But that can be a losing endeavor against a Dromai player. I'm talking a lot about this matchup with really good Dromai players, like people like Aaron Chance out in Toronto, people like Mara Faris. Mara Faris considers me one of the best, if not the best, Bravo player in the world. And she said, "I can never beat you on Bravo. You're unbeatable." And I say, well, yeah, obviously I could beat you, but when I play against good Dromai players like Aaron Chance, like Noah Clark and people like that, that becomes more of a challenge. And that's because the strategy that I typically undertake against these Dromai matchups is playing very defensively, trying to just grind them down, even through 2-3 remembrances. And it's a difficult thing, but if I'm going up on that strategy, oftentimes I'm packing at least AB1 at the very minimum, knowing that eventually the Tomotai is going to eat them at some point. There's nothing you can do.
That's exactly right. And that is the sort of the win condition here. And looking at the board, like you're saying, there is no long game, perhaps, protection versus the triple burn them all win game, end game and win condition, because there's no Null Rune on the board. And so, like you said, playing the long game that you may take and is not necessarily in Jeremy's wheelhouse because he can't play against the burn them all end game, and instead is probably just going to try to dominate a bunch of attacks and maybe even use that pulverize if he can somehow draw into it. But Crown of Providence is certainly a nice little failsafe for getting that heaved pulverize on turn 0 out of the arsenal and back in circulation.
So worth noting
All right.
also.
Hold up, guys. Here's the update for everyone. The judge is going to handle something off screen real quick. Players are muted and all that. But the problem is, people in chat actually caught this. The whole reason we're acting on it is when Mara says there's something wrong, it's worth investigating, actually was wrong. So the issue here is that Ryan pitched 2 reds into the gold, and then he paid into Kyloria with resources that weren't there. When we asked him about it on the table, he thought he'd actually played a tome.
Yeah, I was going to say it looked exactly like a tome draw, so he was floating
he had
too.
played a tome,
Sure.
but that's not what happened. He paid into the gold. So when he plays the Kyloria, he still needs to pitch a red.
Yes.
And that red difference means he wouldn't have had an arsenal. So
Yeah.
the judge is correcting the game state real quick. We were able to catch it in time. A little messy, but that's why we have judges. They're going to fix things here, but that's why there was the pause there, and we were able to act on it in real time. So
Thank you very much.
as soon as that's resolved, the judge will come back and say,
Knowledge is power, friends.
Yes, it
and
is.
That's important.
As we kind of like cower down here as goblins leaning on the table as we transition back over to here. I was just sitting here looking at the chat on the stream. I was waiting to see what Mara said about you and her against in the Bravo v Dromai matchup. She says she's never beaten you.
That is correct.
Never beaten Flake on Bravo.
She has never beaten me on Bravo.
No.
Have we even played? I think we have played.
She's probably never even played Bravo. Let's be honest.
No.
She plays Dromai, so she's never beaten you while playing playing Bravo.
That whole conversation is on Flake. What?
Nothing.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. We can maybe start busting open some of the future giveaway, or
You want to open packs right now at this pivotal moment?
It's going to take very long.
I don't think we should. I definitely don't think we should. I think it's a bad idea, DM Armada. So thanks for
I would
positing
agree.
a terrible idea. We're
By
going
the
to put
way,
this box on the side for later.
This is indeed the Battle Hardened here in Milwaukee, sponsored by MinMaxGames. Look at that. MinMaxGames right there. MinMax is bringing this on and just doing a great job as well. I've really enjoyed coming out to these MinMax events. I think they put on an incredible event, and I'm so happy to get to hang out, and you're here too.
That is correct. Yes, that is the probably the smartest thing you've said today.
Out of all the things that I've said, certainly up there.
Yeah.
Most accurate.
Yeah. To quote my dad, of all the people I know, you're one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
It sounds like something nicer than it actually is.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that.
People want to see the Deathly Whale Flake.
Yeah,
That's what they want right now.
You need the Deathly Whale right now.
Do we have the?
You have the Telestrator to help as well.
Well, to Telestrator.
Special
I don't even know what that. Like, I don't think I've ever even held that card in my hand for more than a half second. So I don't even know what the art looks like. To be, it's just a giant gaping
Well,
maw.
it's a good thing we have this thing called the internet that we can use to
The internet?
show you. Here's Deathly Whale. Are you
What is
ready?
this, some sort of magic electricity?
Deathly
knowledge?
Whale, not Deathly Sail. That's much different.
What's a deathly sail?
I don't know. I didn't want to click it because
That's
it's
going to come out in the next set for when the pirate class is released.
Oh God, pirates! Can we talk about that? I would
Oh
love
my
to talk about how
God.
pirates should be in the game. You have to do that
You know what this
because
is?
chat says.
The only thing with a bigger mouth than this is Carolina.
Oh, okay. All right. Go ahead. Do it. Ready?
What?
Wait,
My
hold up.
Carolina-
Oh,
Oh.
we're rescued. We're ready to go back to the game.
Hallelujah.
We're about. Oh man, I'm so sorry, chat. All right.
Okay, so rewinding the state over here, it's going to be a crippling crush. It's going to be dominated.
Now, the key point here, there was the use of the sand cover plus a command and conquer block plus a flame scale furnace block. I don't know if that's still in play here, and if it is still in play, then we can still cover up 9 of this. But if not, then we are probably losing cards from hand here.
The fix was the sand cover is going to go to the bottom because it needed to get paid into Gloria. I don't know
Perfect.
what other penalties were attached, maybe just a warning or something. But the sand cover
Ultimately-
is now at the bottom.
Okay.
Well, that's a good thing for the Bravo player here who doesn't have to worry about the 4 on top from this dominate, because keep in mind, there's nothing in Arsenal. You can't just kind of sneak a card out as a D-React or something else. But here we are. It is the game opened up with an imposing visage into a heaved pulverize, but we're going to throw an 11 spot here. He dominated Crippling Crush. Again, the crush effect. If 4 damage or more is dealt, Crippling Crush will force Ryan Rich to discard at random 2 cards from hand. But it looks like this is all she wrote over here. He's going to be taking some damage and losing some of the hand here. So leaving it up to chance.
Does he remove the Remembrance? There's a Remembrance in hand, and that is a great anti-fatigue card. No, he keeps the Remembrance in hand. That is the one card that is still there. And Remembrance could go into the arsenal and then maybe make some use out of it later down the line. But it's interesting to point out, you would think that the fatigue plan would be like what you'd play for, but when Jeremy is showing that he has no AB and is throwing large attacks and choosing to make these big plays instead of like maybe removing passing mirages or things like that, then you may not actually need or get a lot of use out of Remembrance if your opponent's just going to rush you down. So there's this interesting back and forth that we could see over the next few turns.
Well, Kyloria is going to be sent over here. It looks like Crown of Providence is going to go ahead and recycle away and rescue that Arsenal slot from a very, very heavy set attack, which was that Pulverize. So Kyloria gets blocked out. And now it's a question, does Jeremy want to address the Passing Mirage?
He finds another Remembrance and the Tomeltai in hand now. He's got a Remembrance plus some reds and a Tomeltai. And this is, again, normally Tomeltai would be like your ticket. You would find that and you try to play it out. But look, Jeremy's not giving you the space, and you don't really have a target that you care too much about outside of maybe tech plating to really send Tomeltai in for. And now it's just another dominated attack, and this one's Starstruck. Starstruck coming in for 10, this time dominated, and there's just no real recourse here. He's got the Sigil of Solace in hand. He's got a lot of big, chunky attacks that he's been sending as Jeremy. And yeah, this is the right play. Put Tomeltai in front of it. You're clearly not going to get the value off the Tomeltai in this matchup because your opponent is not playing for the long game.
Well, if the boots were there, it would have been a different block for sure. No null rune at all, so it's not a worry in any case. And as we see it right now, well, Starstruck is going to crush you. If it does, you cannot present attack actions that have a base attack that is equal to or less than the attack or the damage done. In this case, if you're just putting non-attack actions, which are these invoking these dragons, it's a different story. So Starstruck is right now not as dangerous, but it is still presenting damage. As you can see, Jeremy taking an approach here of just slamming some damage down.
He's going to pitch here.
And on chain close, I'll do something.
On chain close, he's going to do something.
I'll fire off Remembrance.
And he's going to Remembrance there.
All right, well,
he drew 2 Remembrances in 2 turns, and that is an unfortunate find in the early game. But trying to make use of it now, getting rid of it now, and going to cycle in the dragons plus that Billowing Mirage red.
Remembrance making a reappearance into the meta, which is always fascinating. That we lived in a world where it was not there for a solid 3 to 4 months or so. It wasn't exactly an auto included in a lot of these matchups. And as a Bravo player, it's like, yes, please. I don't want to have to waste a couple slots and jamming in Remembrance to go ahead and recycle some of those blue 6s or something to just go ahead and basically elongate with the duration of the games. And that's what the difficulty in this particular matchup is, that you have to not just beat the Dromai, you've got to beat the clock. And that can be dangerous. A lot of the, when Remembrance was prominent and it was Dromai versus Bravo, on the Bravo side, a lot of these matchups would go down to the wire. And when you're looking at it, the Bravo player on the defensive side, it's like pop your dragon, swing hammer at another dragon. I'm taking up, I would take up about 10% of the game clock because a lot of the actions were on their side. And it's like block, pop, pop, boom, and we go.
Here we go again. He's going to dominate again, and this time he's coming with Choke Slam, red, dominated. And this is not the game that Ryan expected to enter into. He brought in the full fatigue package. He may even be playing a big chunk more than just a clean 60-card deck, depending on how he sideboarded. And he's looking at this going, okay, unfortunately, I've drawn 2 Remembrances in the opening hands, and they've gone 3 dominated attacks in a row on me. And this is not what I signed up for with this Ghostly Touch. Not going to be doing just about anything in this matchup now going forward. Hey, look at that. The Tome of Imperial Flame finally comes on, and going to have to pitch 2 reds into this. It's going to generate 2 resources, which you can do some crazy things with, but going to pitch the 2 reds. Let's see what she chooses.
A Dromai player is going to be playing very defensively into this matchup if they could. However, the one way to circumvent that is just by sending these dominated attacks. Now, Jeremy has also found the right recipe to dominate some big attacks. You find a couple blues and an 8 attack, a 9 attack, a 10 attack, and I think that's good enough. But eventually, Jeremy's going to be caught with like an all blue hand or an all red hand to that degree where he's not going to be able to dominate, and that's where we're going to see Ryan start to throw more 3 blocks in front of these attacks. Jeremy looks like he's just been, really wheeling it hard here. But that's off the back of finding the right recipe in the hand, the right ratios of 1 fat red attack and the right recipe of blues to pay for the dominate and the card itself. That is not going to be sustainable through the duration of this game. Ryan here now throwing a scar for a scar, a 4 go again because of the lower life total. Jeremy's probably just going to be okay. And again, we've seen it. When you don't see the boots, when you don't, the null rune boots, you kind of anticipate that this is going to be more so of a trading damage kind of game.
This is another play of the Remembrance, getting all these cards back that you just played. Scar for a Scar is a card that I have considered on multiple occasions in Dromai, just because having another chain starter that is most likely going to have go again, especially if we're playing towards activating the effect, means that we have these 0 for 4s that are just solid. Sometimes I've considered taking out like the E-Strikes in favor of Scar. It's just been a card that's always been floating on my mind, and one that hasn't quite made the cut in. So I'd love to talk to Ryan after the fact, see where he, where his ratios of conventional attacks have fallen, if Scar is, replacing, something different, or if it's just another red starter that he just includes in place of, a non-attack that isn't as impactful. Instead, here he's going to no Phantasm, send Kyloria, threaten the card draw, which is really, really good. Exactly what you want to be doing is threatening card draw and continued chain shenanigans. But I do want to point out that no, for the chat, the pits is not near the coast, and you can't really say that it's, like a pirate land, though they did include some pirate-esque cards and Outsiders. It's not near the coast. It is sort of just north of Solana.
So let me ask you this.
Metrics is near the coast, but technically I guess they are stacked on each other, but they're not super close.
Let me ask you this, though. I know that you're a huge Wizard guy, but are you going to shift to Pirates when Rising Tides is released in December?
I'm already a pirate, and if Rising Tides was the name of a set, I would sell the farm and I would buy full stock in that set.
Okay.
I would own that. No, that's not true.
I will buy all of your tides.
I would steal
your
it.
Stock. Don't
I would steal it because
Plunder
I'm a pirate.
Yeah.
Plunder. Now, that would be a great keyword mechanic. Hey, check out the new Quicken token on the board. You love to see those. That's super fun. And also, Mangle. This is how you know you're not playing against a Fatigue Bravo or Borvo, as they say. You're just playing 2 red discs bonk style.
Well, Mangle is a great card. Again, there's a lot of those red Guardian attacks that cost 4 that come in for 8 with cool crush effects. Chokeslam being one of them. This is another one. This does not get the same kind of respect that Chokeslam does. Chokeslam is kind of a very big card. Maybe not so much now that Briar's not in the picture, let's say, but still, Mangle, very, very potent card here. It's going to destroy a piece of equipment that has a -1 counter on it.
I would say the pits is not necessarily near the coast, but then again, I do think that that is, it's fairly close. Like the metrics in the pits, they're displayed in such a way on the world map that
draw us the world map.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, so if we take a look as the game progresses, and that's really the important thing, but if this is the world of Wraith, okay?
Is it, or is that a potato?
This is Solana right here, okay? So it's right around this area. Metrics on the map is shown right here, okay? And it's like the city of opportunity, and it's like all the steam. The pits is actually displayed in a pit right here. This is the pit. We have the Savage Lands on this side. Okay, Savage Lands. Then we have Volcor shown here. Okay, Volcor kind of takes up this zone right here. And down here is the Demonastery. Now, in the lore of Flesh and Blood, the Demonastery actually is untethered from the ground and is currently flying over right here. And that is actually just depicted on multiple cards, including but not limited to Mavrian Skies, where you can see a member of what's probably the Volkai standing on a sand dune in Volcor, looking at the Demonastery flying this direction. And then over here we have Mysteria, which we haven't been to yet. And then, of course, Aria with its veil shuddering and shimmering, and people being able to kind of come in from these various locations and, attack the World Tree, if you will.
What the living hell did you... This is...
You're welcome.
So... Kyloria is attacking in the most spectacular way through what looked like a 7-year-old's vision of what the surface of Mars would look like. But this is Kyloria. It's a 4-attack dragon on hit. It's going to draw you a card, very much like Snatch, but it's going to be living on the board in perpetuity until Jeremy wants to address it. But this is the problem. If you're playing an aggressive Bravo, this means that you're basically giving your Dromai opponent the free range to just go ahead and actually raise these dragons and harbor this massive fleet of these flying threats. And it's not just a bunch of Ashwings that are going to poke and prod you. We're going to pop the
Pop the Azavali, covering that up, taking away the chain continuously. But keep in mind that our opponent has not removed our passing Mirage this entire game, and because of that, we do have a lot more utility. Now, he heaved a Pulverize, and that means that we can play out that Pulverize, and because Crown of Providence is no longer in play, we kind of have to play this Pulverize out of Arsenal. Otherwise, our Arsenal is just straight up locked. But look at this. He's just not going to do it. Do we have any other recourse of cycling out that Pulverize now that we're not playing it? We just have to draw into the natural play.
Dangerous, and that's another symptom of basically just saying, okay, this is going to be a very aggressive a list here. The problem is that you have to sort of convert on this as fast as possible.
Well, I don't know. That's a great question, but I do think about the Roman Empire a lot. So I guess that's something that we'll have to revisit at a later date when death is not on the line.
I want to bring a little bit of attention over here to the graveyard. That's a red buckling blow. That is essentially a card that I've been practicing with and putting into my Bravo list a lot because it's one of the major pieces that you can use to essentially kill a Lexi. And in the matchup against Lexi, that's one of the nastier opponents that you have to deal with, and it's also one of the more prominent heroes that you're going to have to deal with. And if you can put in a red buckling blow, pair it up with a buckle, that's one of the win conditions that you can have to potentially, much like, Arachne uses Regicide to try to kill a royal hero. This is kind of one of the Hail Marys that you have to sort of convert on in order to really give yourself a great chance to beat up on Lexi, because you cannot fatigue Lexi anymore. But take a look at this. This is the absolute just spewing of dragon-related garbage on the board that if you're Bravo, you have to now just completely ignore. You have to completely ignore it.
He manages to find the hand to play the Pulverize and is able to actually jam it down onto the board. And this is a big 14 spot. Coming across, it cost 10, so he had to find the correct recipe to pay this out. But in doing so, is able to establish 14 damage on the board. Now, the fundamental problem with this kind of back and forth play on the side of the Bravo is that we've basically given up the board, and we have to rely on poppers now on the second chain link. Like the second dragon attack is now just the popper that we have to play around, and this can prove a little difficult if our opponent establishes just this super wide board and is able to threaten in horrifying ways with conventional attacks first. And that might be what we see get played into if Ryan can stabilize and not get blown out by dominated attacks over the next 3 turns.
All right, so this is a -3 attack Ashwing because the Pulverize did connect. But now you're leaving yourself open to potentially getting one of your dragons popped, and it looks like Ryan Rich is just completely content.
Well, he didn't play a red card,
Well,
so he doesn't have go again.
There's no go again associated to it at all. No big deal.
But
no
he did
problem.
want to use a show of force to send that -3 Ashwing across and try to send that attack in.
I also do want to just address the comment here, which is you take that back. It's not garbage. You're right. My apologies. It's not garbage. It is wholesale organic free range garbage.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah, there you go. So my apologies. Oh, hey, no. That warrants a little bit of just a little bit of clarity as a Zealous belting red 5 go again off of the pitch. Look at that. Lots of red cards in another Pulverize, a buckling blow, but hey, there's the buckle. So look, the combo's there together. Not that it's really might not make too much sense perhaps, but a buckle into buckling blow red. That's the miracle combo that would probably give you a advantage against the Lexi matchups. You hunt with those New Horizons, and then you finally can, you turn Lexi from a 3-attack consistent 3-attack hero to a 2-attack hero, which is a lot more digestible. But look, I have to again just show you that this, all this here, this is just too much for Jeremy to handle. If you're playing a defensive build, you have to commit to it early. That would not exist if you're playing defensive. He wants to attack that life total. He's brought Ryan to 5, and if he can continue to dominate these attacks, Jeremy has done an incredible job here of finding the right recipe to keep going. But if you find 2 or 3 bricked hands in a row, it becomes very dangerous.
Yes, it does. You're exactly correct, but I think he is playing to this win condition right here. The text on Bravo. He just needs to dominate a few more attacks and basically cross his fingers that we don't have more sand covers over here on the side of Ryan, because if he is able to find a sand cover, find more sigils, try to play around the problem, if you will, then he may just get stalled out by the board. Yes, he can pop the second dragon attack each turn, but and this is great too, being able to play a Dromai out. This is scary. This is truly probably the worst card to see if you are even at all worried about there being a possible wide turn. And that is the first pop of the first dragon of the game. And the Ghostly Touch is finally on the board, but it's not going to do anything. He's just going to, pop it. Has the play here. Continues the attack. And how is he going to favor this Billowing Mirage? Let's see if he chooses to pitch the Sigil or just send an Ashwing. I think that's exactly what we're going to see.
Well, just poke and prod a little bit at a time. The issue here is that if you're going to be relying on popping dragons all day long, that means that you're going to be leaning on your hammer to do a lot of the work, and your hammer is probably going to only represent 6 damage. That's a 2-card block from Ryan, and all of a sudden he plays a red card, and you're going off to the races again with all of these dragons. Jeremy took the go fast, go furious approach, but if he can't cross the finish line, well, he never had him. He never even had his car.
That's true. He's going to cover that up. Not a popper, as you see in hand Showtime. And this is the danger of allowing a Dromai, even as Bravo, allowing a Dromai to have a wide board means that you can just dig through those turns, especially off the back of that new Dromai Ash if you have it enabled. But dig through those turns by gaining the action points off Dromai and then start sending until they just can't deal with it. And now he has to respect the board. Going to clean up that Kyloria on the swing.
I think that's a fair assessment over here. Again, if you're only going to swing with 1 card, you might as well take care of a dragon that is representing an additional card, which could be an additional attack, which could then becomes very dangerous. And in that hand, we see a Yenderai, more dragons in there as well.
And 2 Burn Them Alls, which would be fantastic to establish right now because your opponent can't stop your arcane damage.
This is dangerous here because Jeremy is so pot committed to playing an aggressive build here that he cannot pivot to defense because the pile of dragons is way too high. And now a double burn them all is very dangerous. You're going Arcane 1 for every first dragon that you attack with. And without the Null Rune boots, this is going to be a clock that Jeremy's now attacking against. What Jeremy needs right now, he needs to draw a Crippling Crush with 3 blue cards in hand and hope that he can just withstand it, because what he wants to do here is he just wants to dominate it and finish the game in that regard. But keep in mind, even with no cards in hand, Ryan can attack with a dragon that can't be popped and then snap dragons and then go for another dragon.
Well, you can't snap dragons the dragon because it works on attack action cards.
That's what I said.
Right.
He can snap dragons and say, hey, I got snap dragons.
Yeah, you can just show it to him.
Right. No, but I mean, a card in Arsenal, you're absolutely right. That's on me.
This is the big play, I think. Arsenaling that Sigil of Solace and then waiting to see if your opponent's even going to give you the value of just playing that out there. And my mistake.
Yeah, there you go. Joshua Miller is my representative.
That's the play. But yeah, no, that's the big play right there. Is showing that, flashing that Sigil of Solace out and getting that life gain on a key pivotal turn that could have been, like make or break. And instead just going to use it at full tempo and with 2 Burn Them Alls down to just absolutely... but this is huge.
7 dominate.
Yep, so this is going to be a 7 dominate and on hit discard 2 cards of choice, and that is a very big difference than a Crippling Crush turn, because the cards that you're going to toss away here, you keep in mind you're also not under threat of losing, but you also don't want to just give up 7 health for free because you don't want to be in a situation where you're just dying to the next dominated attack that comes through. So there's a good chance that you're just going to put a card in front of this, dunk 2 cards, but if that card is like in his hand right now, a red Ravenous Rabble. That means that this one Ravenous Rabble opens up a myriad of threat against Jeremy.
Exactly. This Ravenous Rabble is the card to keep because it is your chain starter. It's a red. It's 4 with Go Again almost all the time. In this case, it is 4 with Go Again. It's going to turn on both of those, burn them all so that you can start the continued onslaught of arcane damage to try and close this out. And it's going to make your opponent have to respect damage in the long run as well. There's an no Phantasm, 2 arcane damage, 3 attack dragon. And let's see what else is in the arsenal. Do we know what he ended up arsenaling on the previous turn? Because usually in this late game scenario, you want to arsenal those fantastic like Sigils of Solace or the and that popper is going to send in and take out that Ashwing. Use Sigil of Solace. You want to get rid of your sand covers into the arsenal. Those like key defensive pieces to avoid the dominated damage.
So there goes some more of the banishments to satisfy what you need to keep those burn them alls.
Passing Mirage in the arsenal, which is a bit rough. That is not necessarily one you want in arsenal, but it is one that you throw in there in a pressure scenario just to draw 4 more cards and try to dig for your Sigil of Solace, dig for another copy of Sand Cover if you're running them.
This hand that Jeremy has is probably the best that he can possibly do right now, which is a Zealous Belting. We're way past dealing with the dragon, so he's going to go ahead and send this hammer for 6, which is representing lethal. Now, if you block 3, you go down to 1. It's a dangerous game to play over here. He's creating a Seismic Surge as well in between the Zealous Belting and the Hammer Pitch. So there's a Seismic Surge that was created here. It looks to me like Ryan Rich wants to go ahead and block it all. I'm not sure what's in... so it's a Passing Mirage in his arsenal.
Yes.
He's taking 2 here. He got caught with a pair of 2 blocks.
That is a very dangerous spot to be in, but you know you're stuck. You're priced in when you put them in your deck. When you put 2 blocks in your deck, you are priced into having turns just like that, which is incredibly dangerous. Now, here, at the start of the turn, we're going to see if he's going to dunk one of those. No, he did not make an Ashwing off the Uvia trigger at the start of turn, which I think is actually a really, really important distinction to make because passing Mirage here is going to cover this one up. Now, he doesn't have Go Again on this, but having an extra like Ashwing at key moments in the late game can really, really end up mattering. Now, here, the cover up on the block and your opponent's at 4, which means you just need 2 more turns. 2 more turns of the burn them all triggers. You just have to survive for 2 turns.
But he just gave up a red 4 cost attack. So there's a good chance that he's got another red 4 card and 2 blues. If he's given up that card, it's either because he's got all reds or he's just got some massive amount of attack over here. It's going to be it's Arouse the Ancients. He's going to show 2 more cards. It's going to be a Cranial Crush and a Mangle. He's got the right numbers here to create 7 Go Again.
That is massive.
Oh, this is absolutely nasty. And if, honest to God, if it was me, there's a good chance that I'm actually going to be pocketing that. Oh, no, the Mangle comes in at the discount as well, so it's going to be a huge
That's
win
it.
for the
That's
Borvo.
all. And because he had the tome in hand, he wasn't able to cover it up. What a crazy finish to that game that did not play out in the way that perhaps we would have expected at the outset of this. And Bravo, or should I say Borvo, picks it up.
Well, Borvo never had it in doubt, never at one point. You know, you come in, you create the Seismic Surge, right? And then you come in. Big numbers.